Cowboys fans have been waiting to see what direction the team will take once the offseason machinery really starts moving, and little by little, pieces of that puzzle are starting to surface. Behind the scenes, there's a growing sense that the organization is carefully mapping out how to rebuild key parts of the roster, especially on the defensive side of the ball. The upcoming months are expected to bring some major decisions, and several early signals suggest the front office already has a few clear priorities in mind as they prepare for free agency and the next phase of roster construction. One name that keeps gaining traction in conversations around the league is linebacker Nakobe Dean. The Dallas Cowboys appear to have genuine interest in bringing him in, and that possibility has been circulating more and more as insiders discuss the team's potential offseason targets. Dean's journey over the last couple of seasons has been interesting. After dealing with injuries that limited his availability earlier in his career, he returned to the field and gradually began showing why many believed he could become an impact defender at the professional level. Once he regained his rhythm and started receiving more consistent playing time, his presence became much more noticeable. What stood out most during that stretch was how effectively he helped stabilize the defensive front. His instincts around the line of scrimmage allowed him to react quickly against the run, and that ability brought a level of reliability that coaches value tremendously in a linebacker. While coverage is not necessarily the strongest aspect of his game, he compensates with awareness, positioning, and the willingness to attack gaps aggressively. Another element that caught attention last season was his effectiveness when blitzing, an area where he demonstrated flashes of playmaking potential that had not always been part of his profile earlier in his career. If the Cowboys were to pursue this route, it would represent a slight departure from some of their past tendencies. Historically, Dallas has often leaned toward a certain physical prototype at the linebacker position, particularly when it comes to size and frame. Dean, however, is built a bit differently, relying more on speed, instincts, and quick reaction rather than pure physical mass. In a defensive system that emphasizes movement and situational pressure, that type of skill set could actually become a valuable piece of the puzzle. Another important factor to consider is how he might fit into the overall defensive structure moving forward. With the coaching staff preparing adjustments to the scheme, the need for a linebacker capable of communicating alignments and keeping the defense organized becomes extremely important. If Dean were to step into that role, he could potentially become the player responsible for relaying calls and directing teammates before the snap. That type of responsibility is not given lightly, but it reflects the level of trust teams place in players who show strong football intelligence. Of course, even if Dallas adds a player like Dean, the work would not stop there. Linebacker depth remains a significant issue, and the roster would still need additional contributors capable of rotating into the defense when needed. Young players already on the roster are still developing, and some are never expected to carry a full workload so early in their careers. That means the front office must continue building depth at the position, ensuring that injuries or fatigue do not derail the defensive structure during the long grind of the regular season. Beyond the linebacker conversation, another topic gaining momentum is the possibility of reinforcing the pass rush. Generating consistent pressure has always been a defining characteristic of strong Dallas defenses, and maintaining that standard will require careful evaluation of available talent. There is growing belief that the Cowboys could explore the free agent market for help off the edge, especially if the right opportunity presents itself. The market for pass rushers is always competitive, and the financial commitment required can vary widely depending on the level of player involved. Elite performers command massive contracts, while mid-level starters and rotational players typically fall into more manageable ranges. Dallas has traditionally operated in the middle tier of that market, targeting players who can contribute without completely reshaping the salary structure. However, there are indications the team might consider stretching slightly beyond its usual comfort zone if the right fit emerges. Several experienced edge defenders are expected to be available, and that group includes players capable of immediately stepping into meaningful roles. Some bring years of production and leadership, while others offer upside as younger talent still approaching their prime years. For a team trying to balance financial flexibility with defensive improvement, finding the right blend of reliability and value becomes the ultimate challenge. The reality is that pass rush depth matters just as much as star power. Even when a team has a dominant edge presence, the ability to rotate multiple defenders keeps everyone fresh and prevents offenses from adjusting their protection schemes too easily. That is why many successful defenses prioritize having several capable rushers rather than relying on just one or two names to create pressure. As the Cowboys continue evaluating their options, the financial side of the equation will inevitably shape how aggressive they become. Different scenarios could unfold depending on how contracts are structured and which positions the front office decides to prioritize first. If they invest resources into a linebacker like Dean, they might look for slightly more economical options along the defensive line. On the other hand, if a high-impact pass rusher becomes available at the right price, that could shift the entire strategy. All of these possibilities illustrate just how important the coming weeks will be for the organization. Every move made during free agency has a ripple effect on the rest of the roster, influencing draft plans and long-term financial planning. For Cowboys fans following every development closely, the early reports provide a glimpse into the thinking inside the building, hinting at a defensive overhaul that could redefine how this unit performs once the next season begins. While strengthening the linebacker position and reinforcing the pass rush are two priorities gaining attention, the Cowboys are also evaluating another area that could play a crucial role in the defensive structure: the safety position. In the modern game, safeties are expected to do far more than simply patrol the deep part of the field. They must be versatile, capable of covering receivers, supporting the run, and occasionally sliding into the slot when defensive packages demand additional flexibility. Because of that, the team appears to be studying potential additions who can bring that kind of multidimensional impact. One player who has quietly built a reputation for reliability at the professional level is Jalen Thompson. Over the past several seasons, Thompson has developed into a steady contributor who rarely receives the national spotlight, but consistently performs his assignments at a high level. What makes him particularly intriguing is his ability to adapt to different roles within a defensive scheme. He has experience playing deep safety, but he is also comfortable moving closer to the line of scrimmage or lining up in nickel packages when coverage adjustments are required. That type of versatility could prove extremely valuable for a defense that may be undergoing schematic adjustments. When a coaching staff introduces new ideas or tweaks the structure of the defense, having players who can handle multiple responsibilities becomes a major advantage. Thompson's experience suggests he could slide into different situations without requiring a complete overhaul of the defensive alignment around him. For a team trying to improve communication and efficiency on the back end, that flexibility could help stabilize the secondary. Financial considerations will also influence how aggressively the Cowboys pursue help at safety. The market for established defensive backs can fluctuate depending on how many teams are searching for the same type of player. In some cases, the price climbs quickly as organizations compete for experienced starters. In other situations, the presence of strong draft classes can reduce demand, allowing teams to sign solid contributors at more reasonable numbers. That dynamic might work in Dallas' favor if they identify a player who fits the scheme but does not require a massive financial commitment. Another defensive position that could see attention during the offseason is the nickel corner role. Over the past several years, offenses across the league have increasingly relied on formations that place multiple receivers on the field at once. Because of that trend, the nickel corner has essentially become a starter in many defensive systems rather than just a situational substitute. Whoever fills that role must possess a unique blend of agility, awareness, and physical toughness, since the position requires defending quick slot receivers while also helping against the run. Dallas has experienced firsthand how important that role can be. Losing stability at nickel corner often creates ripple effects throughout the secondary, forcing other defensive backs to adjust their responsibilities. When the position is handled by a player who understands leverage, communication, and timing, the entire defensive backfield tends to function more smoothly. That is why finding the right player for that role may become one of the most important defensive decisions of the entire offseason. The team has explored various possibilities in recent years, and several potential solutions could emerge depending on how the market unfolds. Some candidates offer the experience of playing inside coverage for multiple seasons, while others bring versatility that allows them to shift between cornerback and safety responsibilities. A flexible defensive back capable of handling both duties could provide the coaching staff with additional creativity when designing game plans against different opponents. At the same time, the financial landscape surrounding the roster remains a major part of the discussion. On paper, the Cowboys may appear to have limited flexibility, but the reality is that several contract adjustments could quickly create significant room under the salary cap. Teams around the league frequently restructure deals or shift money across future seasons in order to open space for new additions. If Dallas chooses to follow that path, the available resources could expand considerably. Creating additional financial breathing room would give the front office the freedom to address multiple needs instead of focusing on only one or two positions. It could allow them to add a linebacker, reinforce the pass rush, strengthen the secondary, and still leave space for depth signings that quietly strengthen the roster. Those kinds of balanced approaches often separate teams that remain competitive throughout the entire season from those that struggle when injuries inevitably appear. Another storyline that continues to generate conversation involves the future of kicker Brandon Aubrey. Over the last couple of seasons, Aubrey has established himself as one of the most dependable specialists in the league. His consistency from long distance and his calm approach in high-pressure moments have made him an extremely valuable part of the roster. Because of that reliability, many expect the organization to reward him with a new contract that reflects his importance to the team. Negotiations between teams and kickers rarely dominate headlines, but they still require careful planning. A top-level kicker can influence the outcome of multiple games during a season, especially when close contests are decided by field goals in the final minutes. Securing long-term stability at that position eliminates uncertainty and allows the coaching staff to approach late-game situations with confidence. That sense of trust often shapes play calling decisions when the offense moves into scoring range. There are mechanisms available that would allow Dallas to maintain control of Aubrey, even if a long-term agreement is not finalized immediately. However, the expectation around the league is that both sides are working toward a deal that keeps him in a Cowboys uniform for the foreseeable future. Given his performance and the impact he has already made, locking him into a multi-year contract would provide continuity for the special teams unit. As all these developments unfold, the bigger picture becomes clearer. The Cowboys are approaching an off-season that could redefine several areas of the roster. Defensive reinforcements, secondary adjustments, and key contract negotiations are all intertwined in a process that requires patience and strategic thinking. Every decision made over the next few weeks will influence how the team looks when training camp arrives and the next season begins to take shape. But before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Dallas Cowboys. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. Around the league, whispers have a way of turning into headlines before anyone can trace where they began. Lately, those whispers have circled the future of Dak Prescott, fueled by contract chatter, cap projections, and the endless hunger for drama that follows star quarterbacks. But inside league circles, there is a growing belief that the Dallas Cowboys have taken a decisive internal step to shut the door on uncertainty and protect the face of their franchise. While no public declaration has been made, the sense among executives and agents is that Dallas has effectively blinded Prescott from any short-term speculation. The message, as interpreted by those close to the situation, is clear. Whatever conversations are happening behind closed doors are designed to reinforce stability, not invite chaos. This is less about a single contract clause and more about organizational posture. The Cowboys have lived through the volatility of quarterback transitions before, and there is little appetite to revisit that territory. Prescott represents continuity, leadership, and a system built around his command. Even as outside observers debate windows, leverage, and future options, the internal narrative appears far more settled. Dallas is believed to view any public silence not as hesitation, but as strategy. From a league-wide perspective, this approach makes sense. Quarterback uncertainty can erode a locker room long before it shows up on the field. By insulating Prescott from rumor cycles, the Dallas Cowboys send a subtle but powerful signal. The franchise knows who is steering the ship. That signal resonates not only with players, but with sponsors, staff, and potential free agents watching from afar. Of course, speculation never truly disappears in the NFL. It merely changes shape. Yet the prevailing belief is that Dallas has already made its choice, even if the paperwork remains out of public view. In that sense, the latest buzz is less about drama and more about closure. For now, the Cowboys seem intent on ensuring that any talk about Prescott's future stays exactly where they want it, outside the building and far from their plans. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Dallas Cowboys, please subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. We always look forward to your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.